So I'm going to invite you to tell us a little bit about yourself. And then I'm wondering, since I know that you work primarily with children, whether or not you've ever encountered, say, tensions between what a parent might wish or hope for their child versus the child patient and what they want or need, or maybe even tensions between what you think would be best or most therapeutic for your patient versus what a parent wants to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Can everyone hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for having me. My name is Heather as well, and in spaces where Heather Evans and I are present together, we typically will refer to each other by our last names as Evans or Feldner. So please feel free to do the same for anyone who might be asking questions. Um, so I am a cisgendered white woman. My pronouns are she and her. Um, I have long gray and brown hair. I'm wearing bright blue glasses and speak with a Midwestern U.S. accent. And I am also disabled. I'm hard of hearing, and I use assistive technology to support my disability, and really only started identifying as part of the disability community a few years ago, and am really proud to be a part of that community. And I am also, in addition to my own experiences, I am also the parent of, as well as the daughter of family members with disabilities that are different than mine. And my clinical background is in physical therapy, particularly pediatric physical therapy. And my doctoral work was also in disability studies. And so it's kind of with that blend of clinical and academic and more recently lived experience that really shapes and limits the perspectives that I bring to these topics. And um, with that introduction, I will dive into your question, Evans, which is a great one. And I think you know, there are definitely always tensions between kids and their parents, regardless of whether they're coming to see a physical therapist or other medical provider or not. But I think for me, some of the big ones that have stood out over time in my clinical experience, number one was comfort with technology. Um, to many kids, technology, whether that be related to mobility or related to sensory need or related to communication, um, or just for fun, really. Technology is embraced by, I would say, a vast majority of the kids that I worked with clinically. And they wanted to learn how to use it, how to incorporate it into their lives, and they really saw the value in different forms of technology providing key access and social participation opportunities. Um, and many parents were hesitant at first because this was a very tangible signifier of difference for their children. And so I think that there's a lot of complexity and tension kind of within that. Um, I had also seen a lot in my clinical um, practice different perspectives related to goals and activities. And for me, as a physical therapist, this was largely around physical activity and what a child was excited about doing and how they were excited to use the capabilities that they had versus what a parent was expecting. Um, and I think the biggest example of that in PT for sure is this tension between a desire to walk or a view of walking seen as the kind of pinnacle of mobility, as the ultimate mobility goal. When in reality, we all use a lot of different forms of mobility to get around. Sometimes we walk, sometimes we roll, sometimes we sit in an airplane and fly. Um, and again, I think there was this tension because there was this perception of mobility technology, say a wheelchair, for example, as a failure or as a last resort, rather than what I think of it really is as a key means of access and a key means of participation in a world that hasn't really been built for people who move around in different ways. And so, um, this idea of, walking being the be all end all and the kids kind of feeling bad if they weren't accomplishing goals related to that. That was a huge source of tension. And of course, we needed to meet parents where they were at in terms of their processing. And no wonder there was this perception because, as you mentioned in the talk, we've all kind of grown up in and been socialized in an ableist society that really values certain ways of being in the world more than others. And so, of course there was going to be that tension and that grief even. And so it was really interesting to kind of have conversations that where you were simultaneously trying to meet a parent and child where they were at from different perspectives, but then also interject your own professional, opinion in terms of, we want mobility to be we are mobile for mobility's sake, right? For fun and enjoyment, but it's also a means to an end of participating and engaging and interacting in the world around us. And so how can we do that most efficiently so that a child is not expending all of their energy just trying to get where they want to go? And so that I think is probably the biggest example that I can share from my own practice.
Wow, thank you so much. That is really that makes me reflect on so many things. I really appreciate it. I'm going to jump right into some of the great questions that have been submitted here. So, Justice, I am coming back to you, and one of our participants says, "Are there any laptop type or other type of products that translate medical information for a patient to Braille or for a sight impaired patient?" Parenthesis, yes, Justice, you are very handsome. And so I'm wondering if you can share with us, you mentioned taking notes, etc. What is the best way for you to get access to medical information or written information?
Thank you very much for the compliment. Yeah, I may not give you like an exhaustive answer to this,